Welcome, welcome, welcome. Greetings from Vatsal, your chess coach, so to say. So let's start from the very beginning. The reason why all of us are here. No, not lockdown. Chess. So let's learn about it before learning it.
2,000 years later.
Hashtag Wikipedia, hashtag copied.
2 hours later.
Conventionally, it is a two-player strategy board game played on a checkered board consisting of 64 squares alternating between white and black? No, just light and dark squares.
एकदम इन्होंने वक्त बदल दिया, जज्बात बदल दिए, जिंदगी बदल दी.
It can be like this or this or this or blah blah blah. It is the perfect combination of sports and art. It may fascinate you that the total number of different chess games are around 10 to the 120th power, which are way more than the total number of atoms in the observable universe, which are merely 10 to the 80th power. Enough of this, let's get to the good stuff. Mats, rolling, action. So let's begin with how to set up the board. It is considered as correctly set up when each player has the light colored square on the bottom right hand side. Does it really matter? Maybe not. But never mind, it is what it is. Moving forward, these 8 vertical columns are known as files and these 8 horizontal rows are known as ranks. So as you can see, these 8 files are named from A to H from the left of the side who plays white. Similarly, these 8 ranks are named from 1 to 8 from the bottom of the side who plays white. So interestingly, each square has its own name. For example, this square is known as E4, A1, G7, B7, B3, C6, etc. Moving ahead, there are two sides, white and black, facing one another, with 16 pieces each, which should be placed in a specific position in order to begin. So let me introduce them to you and their respective places. So firstly, these are known as elephant, no, rooks, followed by horses, no, knights, followed by camels, no, bishops, followed by queen and king, yes, queen and king, and they are followed by a wall of soldiers, no, pawns, P-A-W-N-S, pawns. Black pieces are set up in a similar way on the opposite side. Let me show you very quickly. Rooks, knights, bishops, queen, king, and pawns. It should be noted that if the board is correctly set up, white queen is placed on a light square and the black queen on a dark one. The game begins with player with white pieces making the first move, and then black makes his first move. Each player makes alternate moves like this until the game ends. Each pieces has their own unique way of moving and capturing the opponent's pieces. Yes, you can, or rather, you should capture your opponent's pieces in order to make your life easier. Most important note, you cannot capture your own pieces, obviously. So let's begin with the first piece, rook. It can move any number of squares in a straight line, horizontally or vertically. That is, it means in a plus shape. It can capture any piece it moves into. It cannot jump over any piece. Let me show you the squares this rook can go to. It can go to any of the squares marked by me. Moving forward, bishop. It can move any number of squares in a straight line, diagonally.
Diagonally. What did you say, dear?
Diagonally.
That is, it moves in an X shape. It can capture any piece it moves into. It also cannot jump over any piece. Let me show you the squares this bishop can go to. It can go to any of the squares that I have marked. Moving forward, then next and the most powerful piece, that is the queen. It has the combined power of rook and bishop. That is, it can move any number of squares in a straight line, either horizontally or vertically or diagonally. It can also capture any piece it moves into. It cannot jump over any piece. Let me show you the squares this queen can go to. This queen can go to any of the squares that I have marked. So as you can see, it is one of the most powerful pieces on the board. Moving forward, the next piece, king. It can move to only one square in any direction. That is, it can move to any of the squares that I have marked. The next one is the knight. It is the most peculiar piece as it moves in a weird L shape or 2.5 squares in any direction. It is the only piece which can jump over other pieces. It also can capture any piece it moves into. So let me show you the number of squares this knight can go to. This knight can go to any of the squares that I have marked. And finally, the pawns, which are considered as the soul of chess. It is the only piece that moves and captures differently. It can only move one square forward. However, on their first move, each pawn can move 2 squares forward. So, they cannot move if any piece is placed in front of them. For example, if we play e4, e5, the pawn on e4 cannot simply move. They can capture pieces one square diagonally in front of them. For example, if white here plays d4, black can simply capture the d4 pawn with his e pawn. That is, like this. Magic happens when pawns reach all the way to the last rank. That is, it promotes into any of the 4 pieces of your choice. That is, either into a queen, or into a rook, or into a bishop, or into a knight. Now, let's talk about some special rules of chess. There are 2 of them. First one is en passant. It is a special pawn move. For example, let's say we play e4, he plays e6, and we play e5. So, if in this position, the black plays d6, that is moves a pawn 1 square forward, we can capture it. That much we know by now. However, if it goes 2 square forward, that is d5, you may think that we cannot capture it. Here comes the en passant rule, which says that we still has the option to capture the pawn as if it had moved only 1 square forward. Note, we only have that option on our very next turn only. So it's now or never. So if in this position he plays pawn to d5, here comes this move in action. See it carefully. So we can just capture it simply like this. However, if he wastes a move, for example, let's say knight to f3, and he plays like say c6, then we just cannot capture this pawn. The second and the last special move is castling. It's the only time you can move 2 of your pieces in one turn. The king goes 2 square towards the rook and the rook comes on the adjacent square. You can either castle with the h rook, known as the kingside castling, or you can castle with the a rook, known as queenside castling. Important note, there are 3 conditions which should be met in order to castle successfully. The first one is neither the rook nor king has moved previously. Second, there shouldn't be any pieces in between. And the third and the most important one, the king shouldn't be threatened on the initial square nor on any square on its way to castle. So in this example, as you can see, the black queen on e8 is attacking the white king on e1. So in this position, you just simply cannot castle to either of the sides. Similarly, in this position, as you can see, as the black queen is on d8, so it attacks the d1 square. So the king cannot castle queenside. However, it can castle kingside. Also, he cannot castle in this position as the black queen is attacking the c1 square. However, in this position you can see that the black queen is attacking the b1 square. But the king did not pass through that square. So in this position, white can castle. So by now, you know how the game starts and continues. So let's now talk about the main part. That is, how it ends and what can be the different outcomes. Either it can end with either of the player winning or in a draw, that is a tie. But everyone wants to win. So let's first discuss how you can win. The one and the only goal is to kill the enemy king, known as checkmate. So you should first know what do you mean by check. When the enemy piece attacks your king, it is known as check. So it simply refers to the king being attacked. Let's say in this position, black plays rook to e6 with a check. As you can see, it is a check as the black rook is attacking the white's king on e3. Defending side should do something about it. He can either capture the attacking piece like this, or he can block the check, that is like this, or he can move his king to a safe square like this. So if you are in check and there is no way to protect your king, the attacking player delivers checkmate and he wins. For example, in this position, black plays rook to f1 and he wins. So finally, now let's see how can a game can be drawn. There are 4 ways. The first one is draw by stalemate. It is said to occur when it's your turn to move, you're not in check, and there are no legal moves for any of your pieces. So for example, if in this position, black plays queen to f2, it is a stalemate and the game is drawn. The second one is draw by insufficient material. It occurs when one side has a king and a bishop versus a king, or king and knight versus a king, or just a king versus a king. The game is drawn since there is no way possible to checkmate any of the kings. The third one is known as draw by 50 move rule. It states when each player play 50 moves each without making any pawn moves or any captures, the game ends as a draw. So let's say if in this position, white plays this, black plays this, and so on and so forth, and each side make 50 moves each, the result is a draw. The fourth and the last one is known as draw by threefold repetition. It means if the exact same position is reached 3 times during a game, the game is drawn. For example, if white and black plays like this, we can see the same position has been repeated for more than 3 times. So the game is a draw. So just jump into the endless ocean of chess. Keep playing, keep learning, keep watching, and just beat them all. Thank you for watching. Let's drop the beat.